Today, I'm thrilled that we get to have a conversation, and particularly coming after the last panel, where we heard how difficult it is to be an entrepreneur, which is true. We're going to hear now from someone who has been an entrepreneur and has successfully made it through and has done incredible work. And it's his name. You'll be known to many of you, Raghib Hussain, who is the president of Marvell, which is an $80 billion chip company. For the younger members of the audience, I should point out that Marvell is different from Marvel, but as you will see by the end of this conversation, Raghib is just as much a superhero as the folks at Marvell. So with that, please join me in welcoming Raghib Hussain to the stage.
Thank you.
Well, Raghib, thank you for joining us. It's really a great pleasure to have the chance to chat with you about your journey. What we're going to do is we're going to spend maybe 20, 30 minutes hearing from Raghib about his journey and what he's doing now and his view of the future. And then we'll open it up for questions for about 15 minutes of questions. But I want to start with where Raghib started, because it's easy to look at someone now and say, president of an $80 billion company, but no one starts that way. And I think in Raghib's case, certainly his origins were very far from Silicon Valley. So maybe Raghib, could you give us a sense for kind of where you're from and your childhood and your family?
First of all, thank you everyone to attend this session, and I like the style that Omer has put us on front foot by pulling the chairs ahead. I like that style. So of course there are so many things. I'll quickly go through the background because I'm pretty sure you're more interested to learn what's the future versus the past. I actually am from Karachi, from Federal Bay Area. Actually, I'm one of the 12 siblings. I'm number 10th actually, and came from humble background. Went through public, yellow schools and all that. Went to NED for the computer engineering.
So you're not some fancy HSN or Karachi Grammar School person.
No, I'm not. I'm not privileged that way.
Yeah, no, I think it just goes to show you don't need to be.
Yeah. And then went to NED, which is also a very good institution, but public.
NED, there you go.
We have lots of NEDian here, so that is good. And after that, I came to United States, and
Well, how did you get here? Because that's something you came for work or you came to study?
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting story. So I came actually, I think it is Kothari somewhere is in the audience here. After NED, I joined a company which was kind of design house for semi-custom logic in Pakistan, and I worked with them over there. And of course, I they thought that, hey, these Pakistani kids, what can they do, sort of a thing. They gave us some challenge to some design to do, and we did it actually in 2 months. We implemented that, and in fact, we implemented a product. So then they decided to launch their product. So we were brought to United States, and that's how I came to United States.
So you came basically by working. You went through the Pakistani education system. You worked in Pakistan, and then because you basically went above and beyond and delivered to such a high level, they felt like they had to bring you over here.
Yeah, I would say yeah. So we were able to create value by doing the actual thing, and which was a good product as such. And I think that's why it's all about business. So they thought it's a good idea for us to be here.
So then you came over, and then how did you? After you arrived, you worked for a few years before you started your company Cavium. Is that right?
Yeah. So when we came over here, actually I went to school after that. So I switched to a other way. I switched to F1 student. I did masters, but I was doing in parallel. Then I switched to H1 visa, and I was working and student as well. What we implemented at that time was a security solution. Actually, the first product that we implemented was the end-to-end encryption solution for telephone line. And at that time, internet was coming up, so we started looking at the RFCs, which is internet RFCs, and we came up with this idea. The same concept can be applied to the internet security. So they implemented a system POC for the as for IPsec VPN. Actually, IPsec did not exist at that time, and then of course that is started. The company VPNet, and VC came and so on. And at that time, I kind of left and went to work for Cadence Design System.
Gotcha. So you helped start a company, and then you went to work at a larger company at Cadence.
Yes.
And then how did you start Cavium, which ultimately you grew and took public?
Yeah, so I didn't have understanding of the startups and all that. At that time, if you remember in 90, it was 95, the startup culture was not really there. But this thing that, hey, we have to do something, create your own, actually it goes back in Pakistan. My first, I would say, venture was, remember in the 80s, late 80s, there was a computer virus thing. And actually I learned programming through that. And I implemented a general purpose antivirus system. So, if in other words, it's a good virus. If you infect with that, then your file will be protected. That was my first venture, and I sold it out for like $10,000 at that time, which was a lot of money for me especially. And I think that gave me an idea that, hey, you should you should control your destiny, sort of a thing. But I did not know the startup, how it works, and VCs and all that. I got those exposure actually while working at Cadence, because in Cadence I was in design side, so they will send me to various startup every 6 months, in helping them out in a way. But I over the next few years I worked for several startups, so I learned, because when you're there in a small team, uh, you are part of that startup, like a 10, 15 initial people, right? And you are actually involved in every kind of meeting. Then I went to actually Cisco Systems, where I thought networking is doing great, so we should go in there. But what I realized is there's a huge disconnect in the large corporation between what top is thinking and doing versus what low-level engineers are working on, right? And there were, I mean, we all know the whole Andiama and all those things happened. At that time, I left and I said, okay, I have to do my own. So this is how, ultimately I ended up doing Kevin.
So that's how you wanted to start a company. How did you come up with an idea, and what did Cavium do?
So yeah, so that is a very interesting point. So yes, we wanted to do a company and we did not know exactly what, but one thought was that, hey, this whole, at that time, internet was happening. So because of internet, we say, hey, the problem of the data was already evident, because if you remember at that time, NPUs were being implemented, which could handle the data at a fast bandwidth, but not good to program. It was not easy to handle that, right? But it's a humongous project. If you say is a startup sign up, actually there were 3 startups who signed up to do that at that time. All of them failed, by the way. What we said, okay, we cannot do. We are nobody knows us. I mean, the 28, 27 years old. At that time, it was not that culture of young entrepreneur either. So I said, okay, what can we do? So we found a focus. We can say, we can do a security processor. And that's what we did. The first product we did was just a security processor.
So a pretty small niche
Pretty
first.
niche. In fact, it's laughable because the total available market was $50 million. But in some ways, it was good because then no big company will focus on that, because it's a noise for them, right?
Yeah, I sometimes think that if when you're doing a startup, you don't want a big market because the incumbents will crush you. What you want is a small market that will become a big market over time.
True. So the direction is important, and this is where we entered into this small market, and we pretty much captured that market. In fact, we have been leader of security processing since then. As of today, even today, we have a number one market share in security processor.
Is it doing more than 50 million in revenue today?
It is doing more than 50 million revenue, but it's not like $1 billion either, right? So this market never grew beyond few hundred million, right? But what happened is, because we had such a great product, which it was solving such a big pain for which nobody is willing to pay too much money. But it's a big pain to solve, right? So then we established really good customer relationship, every customer value, and we had all the big names. Of course, an enterprise at that time, Cisco was the biggest name. They were our customer. So once you establish that relationship, you get to know more problems. So we say, hey, okay, what is the actual data problem? And this is where we came up with Octeon product line, which is really a data plane processor, which we solve the problem of bandwidth with the ease of programming. And that's what actually made the caveat.
That's what drove the company. So it's really your second product. So you started with a desire to start a company and kind of like a wedge, a foothold in the market in a relatively small niche. But then that gave you the visibility and the ability to then build the second product that attacked the bigger opportunity.
Definitely, because if you need to realize that you are nobody. I mean, nobody cares about you. I mean, and you do not know anybody either, right? So for you, for to have a reason to talk to like a VP engineering and CTOs of all these large companies, why would they give you time? There has to be a reason. Now, if you go and tell them I'm going to boil the ocean, they say, okay, thank you very much. You are not wasting my time because it doesn't sound right anyway, right? So then you go and solve a small problem for them, a small size wise, but a big problem. Then they value you. They give you time. You are part of their $1 million box, right? So they are dependent on you, right? So that establishes the relationship, and that's how you get the foothold, and then you grow from there.
You were CTO, founder and CTO at Cavium.
Yes, I started as so well. I start when I started. Nobody was giving me good valuation. I mean, UVCs do not like at that time. So
Look at me.
the first
How do I?
first term sheet I got was pretty crap, I should say. And then at that time, actually, it was Mike Kothari who introduced me to Syed Ali. He said, hey, you do not have business experience, you need a partner. And that's how we both started together, Syed Ali and me. And this is how we got funded, and then we grew from there.
When did you know it was working? So what was the point where you said, okay, this company is I can feel it now. It's gonna be significant. We should be thinking long term.
I would say it took 3 years to get to that point. Because if remember, it was 2001. It is 9/11 happened, right? Actually, I would say bunch of things.
3 years is not uncommon. I mean, it takes. When I started my company, it took 3 or 4 years.
So for us to get the visibility of, okay, fine, this product has a potential to expand and become a $1 billion revenue company was really when Octeon started. But
The second product.
the second product family, right? So that was, we started that in 2003, and then we brought to market by 2005. But because traction was so good, we knew this is gonna make it.
Right. So when that worked, then you knew. And so then, when did the company go public?
In 2007.
And how did you make that decision to?
So yes, that's a very interesting thing, because we actually had an offer every year. Every year, we were getting an offer to be bought, right?
What was the highest offer you got?
I think highest offer was about $500 million or something like that,
Okay.
which we did not take it. Um, but every time, so we had this discipline. Every time we get an offer, and then you analyze, hey, whatever offer you are getting, can you get better than that in the next 12 months? The window was really 12 months, because at time, the DCF model, how do you value the money today versus tomorrow? And every time we determined that no, we can do better in the next 12 months, right? And that was that way to decide, okay, we do not want to sell. And I'm glad we did not sell, to tell you the truth, because a lot of value would have been destroyed if we had sold, in my mind. Um, Funny enough, there was a certain company which made offer 4 year in a row, and every time they were 1 year behind. They just had to offer 1 year ahead, and life would have been, they would have taken over. But they were just 1 year behind every time.
Well, yeah. So they clearly didn't have the vision.
Well, I would say it's many times with the hubris which kills you. Remember, at the same time, we were competing with them, right? And it's a pretty big company it was, right?
But do you think it's interesting that you made the decision not to sell based on a discounted cash flow, as opposed to saying, I just want to build my company. Why should I sell it to that guy?
Well, the problem, it's a semiconductor is a little bit different than the other businesses, because in semiconductor to scale, you need to have, you know, multi-billion dollar revenue type of things, right?
You need deep pocketed
You
friends.
need deep pocket, right? Now, of course, you can keep dependent, keep getting support from VC, but
There's some parallels to modern AI companies there, because a lot of these modern AI companies need deep pocketed friends too.
so yeah, so the difference is, okay, so let me put it this way. I think we have gotten into printing money a lot these days.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a different environment today.
It's a
In
different environment, yeah.
in the 2000s, people did not have the access to capital
Yes,
that
it's, but
they have.
seriously, I mean, just look in Cavium. Throughout the history of Cavium, we raised only $83 million.
Yeah, amazing.
In $83 million, we created all the all the kind of value that we created.
So, what year did you go public?
To 2007.
Oh, that's right. Yes. So, okay. So you kind of were going in the early 2000s. The second product's '05. You did the IPO in 2007, and at this point, were you thinking you just keep running your company indefinitely, or were you still thinking at that point that you should be
Yeah, so at that
selling?
point we said that, hey, we had various ideas, and the overall data infrastructure was growing already. So we thought that, hey, we can leverage it. We have the ideas, we have the technology. Why don't we just build the product lines? And that's what it did. In fact, we followed that overall growing market theme, and that's what helped us, because we actually introduced two other product lines in. So we started with enterprise, Octeon, the initial product line on enterprise. Then we expanded into the carrier. In fact, Octeon Fusion product line, which is as a variant, but it is really enabling 3G, 4G network, and that's what enabled Marvell to be the leader in 5G. Actually, the same product line. And then we also, after that, expanded when the data cloud happened. We started SmartNIC actually, because we saw the similar data problem in the cloud, and we.
So you did it again. You kind of saw the adjacent markets or adjacent opportunities, and you layered on these additional products.
I would say, yeah, I would say the solution is similar, but targeting a different market. So that's what we did.
How did you come to decide to sell the company to Marvell? Well, how much did you sell the company for? And it must publicly disclosed, right?
Yeah, it is. It is 6.5 billion.
So ultimately, you sold the company for 6.5 billion.
So the thing is, as I said, when we were in like a 2016 and 17, we were run rate of $1 billion revenue. But in reality, $1 billion revenue gives you EBITDA income, let's say $200 million, right? But
Sounds pretty good to me.
the process, because of the advancement of technology and all that, if you really want to be leader in the industry, you have to invest a lot in the latest process. And the cost has been rising from from the 16 nanometer to 7 nanometer to 5 nanometer and so on. So we knew we do not have money to invest to be the leader in semiconductor, right? For that, we needed a scale. The beauty was that Marvell was going through its own transition at that time, so they had good EBITDA income. They had $1 billion in EBITDA income, but they did not have the right technologies, and we had a lot of right technologies. We did not have money. So this is where the idea came. Hey, why don't we combine these two companies? And of course, there is never a merger; it's always a acquisition. But in reality, the thesis was that we'll combine it, and we will drive those product line which Cavium was doing, and really focus entire Marvell on the infrastructure. That was the whole strategy. In fact, that's what we executed. Just to give you an idea, Marvell market cap at that time was $8 billion. 6 years later, it is $80 billion. So
Yeah, no, it's significant. Significant.
that's
I hope did you take cash or stock?
we took actually 50% stock, because it's hard to take 100% market. Investors do not like it. But I think that's the best thing we did, because we were able to, Marvel shares was, I believe, $14 and at that time or something like that. And today is like, I think 90 something. So that's the best thing we did. Um, but I think the thought process that we can make that happen by combining these two things, I think was the most beautiful thing.
Let's shift focus a little bit and talk a bit about the future and AI, because chips have been central to AI. I mean, NVIDIA gets all the press, and I'm sure they're a company you know well. have you been? Did it catch you by surprise? The kind of just explosion of value built on GPUs, and do you? How do you think it evolves over the next couple of years?
Yeah, so if I say no, that will be I'll be lying. The speed at which it has happened, I think, has caught everybody by surprise. It's not that anybody was expecting. However, the whole this concept that data actually is increasing and it can be utilized more effectively, and all the AI work was being done since 2014, 15 was in the direction that it will happen. It's just that the speed is too fast right now, right? And it is happening. But to tell you the truth, to me, it's like a Titanic shift, right? To me, it is uh, bigger than the internet thing that happened about 30 years ago. In my mind, I believe it will completely change the way we do things and our lifestyle. And I have a personal experience of that, and I am a true believer. So just to give you a quick 30-second thing, I myself used. So my wife has been sick for like 2.5 months, right? Daily fever,
I'm sorry to
daily.
hear that.
No, she's okay now. So daily fever, and even after hundreds of tests, all kind of doctors, specialists, staying in a very high-end reputed hospital for 15 days. Couldn't figure it out. And I used ChatGPT to figure it out. I diagnosed
What
myself.
was your prompt?
That's the thing. The thing is that the ChatGPT, maybe I was a problem. No, the thing is that it's a very corner case of a type of thyroid problem, which could explain the entire 2.5 month situation. Problem is this, that there is all these hospitals have a specialists. They come with a narrow focus. They look at their thing, and they never worry about what else is going on in the world. And what I did is I built a detailed spreadsheet of 70 days with hundreds of line item, every possible test, every possible value, every possible symptoms, every medicine taken, and I fed it to ChatGPT.
So you basically captured all the data that is
Every step
possible
possible,
and put it in.
and the symptoms and everything, right? And I fed it, and then I started asking question, and then of course it gave me 17 possibilities, and then I searched Google each one of them, and I say, hey, but how, by the way, she doesn't have this, or by the way, this test show this, which should not be magic. So I kept talking to for like several hours, and then finally I say, hey, based on all these conversation and all these data, give me your top 3 possibility. And guess what? The number one was what she has.
Wow. Yeah. No, I mean that's.
So, so
I'm glad.
so
I'm glad for her sake
I
that we
will.
figured it out, and now she can hopefully recover and
Yeah,
be fine.
she it's and in fact that was validated by her doctor, and then now 10 days later she's on that treatment plan, and she's recovering fast actually.
Fantastic.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I believe this AI agent is going be the best friend of human being. I know a lot of people are scared of that. Hey, it is gonna take away my job and this and that. Yes, it's not gonna happen that way. I think it will elevate us to the next level. I believe our kids will be doing things which we have not even thought about possible. That's what I believe.
And one more question, then we'll open it up. This one's more about just the geopolitics of the chip industry, where it's we're entirely dependent on a single company in Taiwan for chip manufacturing, and there's obviously a tremendous amount of effort to build a domestic chip manufacturing thing with the Chips Act and other things. Can you see chips are literally the most complicated thing that humanity has made. I mean, they're literally the most difficult thing that human beings have created in the history of humanity. Do you think we'll be able to bring that manufacturing onshore? Do you think it is a good policy to? I mean, obviously, it would be better if we could manufacture chips in the US. It would be just like it's better we grow our own food. But do you think it's possible?
Yeah, so I think frankly between me and you could be handled much better. I think there are a lot of egos and politics which did not let it happen right way. However, there is no reason why it cannot be brought. In fact, But in fact, in my opinion, it has to be done through collaboration and partnership instead of trying to just do in isolation, right? So I think I am more hopeful about that company making their factories here. I- In my opinion, we should have started 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and that would have made a very balanced ecosystem. However, it's still not too late, and I am hopeful by 2030 we will have a reasonably good supply chain in that area. Now, of course, if you want to know more about, there's a book actually called Chip War. Very interesting book. If anybody want to know what's going on in chip industry and what all dynamics are, is a good book.
Let's open up for questions.
My name is Miss Azam. I am also from Haiti, and we are all proud of all our Indians who are doing the great job like they've been doing for so many years. And thank you for the Pakistani and doing so. But I don't want to bore your mind here. You did talk about a little bit of the advancement of AI. Okay? And you say that a lot of people had a fear about this advancement that it could become a risk of the humanity that people will lose their job. But here's my question. The advancement of a quantum computer and the advancement of AI, when it merged together, a very famous physicist, he says that it is a very or you call disaster scenario. Michio Kabu, maybe you have heard about this comment on that Paul. How you see this fear, and is it real or is something just I can tell you oh,
So as I said, I'm optimist. I never believe in living in fear, right? I believe human civilization have evolved through technological advancement, and I believe we may not have all the answers today, but in reality we will find our answer and we will figure it out how to coexist and in fact utilize these in our favor for the overall betterment. In my mind, technology, running away from technology is not an option. I think accepting and embracing technology is the right way to go for the overall better civilization.
Thanks. Other questions?
The way you diagnosed your wife's condition, there are a lot of people who are with undiagnosed conditions in the US. And in fact, the major issue which you articulated very well is that all the doctors are focused on their specialties. And in fact, I was talking to one of the doctors and I said, keep saying it was for my son. And, and he said, Nasser, what do you get if you go to a muffler shop? You get a new muffler. What he was saying was this, that, each doctor, based on their specialty, is just looking at the human body from their perspective. So my question is that the way you did this analysis for your wife, if you can, share that a little bit more.
Yeah, so of course there are a lot of detail I can discuss maybe afterwards and one on one. However, here's what I would say, and in fact, I have been thinking with bunch of friends to do this solution for healthcare. In my mind, everybody should have access to the right diagnosis, right information. In fact, there is a company we are gonna launch. It's called Boston Health AI. We can talk more about it later. Is focus on that solving that problem itself. I want a world where every poor guy anywhere in the world, third world country, should be able to explain their problem and should be able to get a right diagnosis without the need of all these doctors. And then they go to the doctor. I'm not saying this is I'm replacing doctor. Actually, I'm helping. I'm augmenting doctor. It's like a doctor assist sort of a thing.
I'm Imran. I had a question about the story and the journey that you took, which is NVIDIA, which is the name that everyone knows, they talk about it as an overnight success story that took 30 years, right? And so the question is, what are the benefits of having a longer gestation period, having that time to build a company, particularly in the semiconductor space, versus folks who are hyperscaling? So in recent years, we've had OpenAI, we've had Wix.com. I'm just curious, what do you think are the benefits and challenges of having that time to grow versus hyperscaling?
Well, I think there are pros and cons of various kind of businesses. So it's not like, okay, this is the only right thing to do and other things are not good. I would say you should look at what are your expertise, what are your team expertise, and what is your unfair advantage over others to kind of proceed with the business, and then you should follow that. Because I mean, you may be a small player in a very large, kind of business area, and doesn't matter. All on the other hand, you can be in a difficult area, but can be a very strong player, and that's what makes you success.
And just to add to that, I would say there is no overnight success. And OpenAI, as an example, started in 2015, and there were a handful of people working in an office where next to the office I happened to be in at the time. And for years, they were just a research group. And so it seems like they came out of nowhere, but that coming out of nowhere was based on years of hard work. And so, generally speaking, there's just no overnight success.
Yeah, I would like to add, and somebody thinks there is any easy way out, please do not go or do a job that's better for you. But if somebody, but it's a very painful path. There's no replacement of hard work. Hard work helps in everything. So you have to be very focused, very disciplined, and willing to really give it all, and that's how you will succeed.
Yes. Firstly, thank you, Raghav and Arif, for your session. Super helpful. I'm currently working with a client in the operations research space, and they're shifting their strategy from being services to product. And I'm helping build one of their MVP AI products. To your point, Raghav, about these AI agents, slowly becoming a man's best friend, kind of like how you diagnosed your wife's case. I'm curious how you go about attaching guardrails around those AI products, like such as in the form of data governance, because with things like that, when hallucinations come up and as you're scaling, the cost associated would rise as well. I'm curious, what's your approach or thought process around it?
So I understand. So I have my different opinions. So for example, I fed all of data to ChatGPT. I don't care. I don't care about hiding my data, because in the reality, if I can get value out of it, who cares? It's okay. So what I believe right now, we are too early in this cycle, and we are kind of getting concerned that these things will get out of control. Yes, it will probably get out of control somewhere, but then we'll find the at that time where things are breaking, and then solving a problem. In my mind, if you ask me, this is my personal opinion, so just take it that way. Slowing yourself down by the fear is not a good approach in my mind. So I would like to keep moving fast while solving the problem as they appear.
I'll just add that I totally agree with that. The one additional factor I'd add is there's a difference between an individual and a company. If every Marvell engineer were feeding all Marvell's private designs into ChatGPT, I think Raghav would be a bit less enthusiastic about that idea.
So yes, I understand, because it's an intellectual property issue. However, if I enable them, which I am enabling them, to build their own model and feed everything in that, and then utilize it,
Absolutely.
great
And so the
thing.
onus is, that's why I think the work you're doing is very important, because the onus is on companies to provide people with these types of tools, but and encourage them not to use the consumer tools, but instead give them something really useful that's kind of enterprise ready. And there are a variety of companies that do that.
Raghav, this is Wajahat. I'm from your company, Marvel Semiconductor, and I'm a director of functional safety and cybersecurity. And reason I'm asking this question is very hard to get hold you at the company, and I was hoping that I could find you here. So my question, obviously, this is related to Pakistan. Honestly, it's so painful to see Pakistan is so behind in semiconductor industry. when you talk to engineers, you go there, they are so optimistic. They want us to see, to scale up, to grow, but they don't find the support, especially from Pakistani diaspora, the leaders like you who can support, and the people who are leading semiconductor. So, in that perspective, I wanted to ask you, as a leader, as a president, um, are you planning or have any plan to invest, to do something for Pakistan in semiconductor field? At least have a one design center supporting by the Marvel. And I know in even our company, we have many design center for small countries like Vietnam, Singapore, and everywhere. Why not Pakistan?
Yeah, so I think that is probably a longer discussion we can do after this panel, but I'll give you two summary. When it comes to semiconductor for a smaller country, there are two challenges. Number one is semiconductor is a very heavy investment industry. It's not like any other industry. The second thing is this: the semiconductor has a huge connotation of geopolitics alliances, right? I'll probably leave it at that, and we can discuss offline in more detail.
I'm Zishan Ashraf. I am a software architect at Folio 3. So my question is mostly about children and youth. So when we were growing up, the education system was designed in a way that we had fairly good idea of what path we would take to become what. There were changes, and but we still had enough time to like pivot and make adjustments. But now that I see our children and youth in colleges, in schools, I realize that they're still pretty much following the same or similar education system, but the world is changing drastically. The changes that we are talking about right now. So, what advice do you have for youth and children, so that while they are still learning in the same education system, they are still well prepared for the changes that are coming, and they can augment, their learning based on the demands of the changing world.
So I would say same thing was applicable to us also. I anything as a subject matter as a coursework that I studied in NED, I don't think any of that thing is applicable to my work that I do. Uh, but what helped me, and that's what I'll advise everybody. You need to do focus on two things. One is what excites you, what is your passion, because if you do not have a passion, you won't be able to kill yourself for that. So you have to have a passion so that you can do a I would say unbalanced decision in favor of pursuing it. The second thing is you need to see where the world is going, and you need to kind of educate yourself for that. I think the even in our time, I mean, I can tell you honestly, I did not attend any class in NAD, so whatever it means. But what it gave us is an environment where there were lots of very smart kids. I mean, a lot of them are actually in US, and they are good, successful entrepreneurs. And we actually excel among ourselves. We push each other. We actually were hungry to look what is the kind of next information that we need to gain. So self learning is what, and everybody should encourage. And where the world is going, I mean, you should not get stuck in what was yesterday. You focus on tomorrow.
Right. My name is Sohail Pirzada. I am also from NED, and so I'm so proud of you. So, kind of in a statement, I mean, some journalist went to Bill Gates and said, Mr. Gates, money is not everything. So Mr. Gates paused for a minute or for a sec and said, how do you know? So asking you this question, I mean, that was a joke, guys. So, I mean, asking you this question, what do I know? But, listening to you that AI is going to be our friend, especially the AGI that's coming down the pike, and then listening to George Hinton, who resigned last year from Google, he's regarded as the godfather of AI. You are saying you should not be fearful, you should not be scared, whereas George Hinton is saying, no, you should be scared. So as far as we are concerned, or I'm concerned, being a novice, and I'm not in the software industry, I think it is irreversible. I mean, no matter what you are scared or not scared, you cannot stop it. So, I mean, things are moving forward, and, that's what I feel. So that's it. It's kind of a comment instead of a question. But I would love to hear your comments. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you answered yourself. My belief is this: the world goes the way it is going. You have two options. You can keep fighting with it, or you can figure it out. How do we align and how do we succeed? How do we utilize that natural momentum in your favor rather than standing against it?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Amna, and by profession, I'm electrical engineer from NED. And you're such an inspiration for all the NEDians, I would say. So my question is regarding, you just mentioned that you are planning some merging of AI with the physicians. Do you have you anticipated or thinking about like merging AI with the engineering, specifically the power side?
So yeah, so the as RF said, the lot of kind of data needed for a good agent, good model. We ourselves at Marvel are using our own data to implement such things, and then I'm pretty sure there are startups who are doing similar things, enabling other enterprises to help them train things. There is not enough, especially for semiconductor. I'm talking. There's not enough data available in a general available open source, and that is why having a model which will be effective as a general purpose model will be difficult over there. But yes, definitely there is a value over there.
Well, let me just wrap up by saying I think everyone here knows that how hard it is and how remarkable it is to start in Karachi as the 10th of 12 children to go through the Pakistani education system and then to end up as president of an $80 billion company sitting here and sharing his experiences with us. And I think we all just feel tremendous pride and affection for Raghib for everything that he's achieved. And so please join me in thanking him for coming and spending a Saturday morning with us.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for your time. I would like to say one last thing, which actually I would tell to everybody, which what has helped me, and I think it's very useful help. The most important thing in life is time. Actually, everything else you can get more, but not the time. And if all of us just have a conscious effort of a focus that every hour that we spend, we should spend consciously. Why are we spending that? If we do that, I think that will be beautiful. The world will be beautiful. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.